Thanks for tuning in to another video. I am Stacy, the creator of Twisted Kinks Crochet. And in today's video, we have a lot on the table to talk about. We have the book that I've been reading. We have the March hat stack that I did not talk about at the end of March. So we'll talk about those. I'll show you some of my favorites. If you've seen the short, then you already know what my favorites are. We'll talk about the completed blues blanket and the trim, the edging that I did for this. And then we'll also talk about the next project that's up on the table. It is a blanket that's been in progress for way longer than I care to admit. So I won't talk about that, but we will get this blanket done. It is the up next project and it's going to be completed in let's say the next 2 weeks. Okay. And let me just point out too, this blanket is made using the granny spike stitch. So I will talk about how this is worked, how it started, and how you work each row. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, let's get started. So let's first talk about the book. This is Good People by Patmeena Sabit. Sabit? I might be pronouncing that last name wrong, so forgive me. This book is about a family that came to the U.S. from Afghanistan and their pursuit of the American dream, let's say. The father is very determined to create a life for his family and guide his children to being the very best of the culture and the very best in American society. And something tragic happens. And so the book is centered around the perspective, it's told from the perspective of family, friends, school administration, other people who made contact with the family and may know, something about the events that led up to this tragic event. So what I like is that the author is building this suspense into what the event was by telling us the story of the family from perspectives of people who knew them. There was an event that happened earlier on, and you get the feeling, it's implied that it had something to do with the family and the daughter, the oldest daughter of the family, but it doesn't specifically say that. And even up to this point, I would recommend this book, Good People. And that is my book talk. So let's talk about these hats. This hat stack is my finished stack for the month of March. This was one hat a day for the month of March. I did one hat a day for the month of February. And if you watch previous videos, you know that these will be donated at the end of the year. So I've surpassed my donation count from last year. So I'm happy about that. And I'm excited to see how many more I will get done between now and the end of December. So 31 hats in this stack. Some of them still have ends to be woven in, but that's not a big deal. I did various styles. So some are vertical, where you do it as like a rectangle and then sew the ends together and cinch the top. Some are done as a simple beanie and, just do it in the round and then that's that. Let me see. A lot of these are done with scrap yarn, some with Dollar Tree yarn, some with just yarn cakes that I had laying around. So I have more that I will do hats with. This was done with a chenille from the Dollar Tree. So, then I did some little ruffles to make it kind of floppy. And then I did some that kind of match. So the same colorway, just the different styles, the traditional beanie in the round, and then the one done as a rectangle. This is one of my favorites with the blues, and then just more where I did kind of matching but different styles. This one I thought was so funny because as I was doing it, I had black and gray yarn from Dollar Tree, and I thought that would be a good combination. I'll do it in stripes. Then once I got finished, I was like, this looks like a prison hat. Prison stripes. But, you know, it's fine. So that is that for the hats. If you are doing hats for donation, please leave that in the comments. If you're doing anything for donation, leave it in the comments. That is my March hat stacks and March hat stack. And we'll see how many more I could get done before the year's over with. Okay, so you saw the clip of the blues blanket, and this blanket measures 50 by 53. It was done, if you watch previous videos, it was done in basically 2 repeat sections. So you have your section of 4 rows of double crochets, and then you have a section where I did a single crochet. The next row I did a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, and then I did that twice. And then the next row was a row of single crochets. So a section of double crochets, 4 rows, and then a section of what I call mesh, which also ends up being 4 rows, but it's a row of singles, then double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, row of singles, last row of singles. And I did that until I ran out of the scrap yarn that I had. So I had a project bag that had blues and 1 big ball of gray. I decided to start with gray, rotate the blues light to dark, light to dark. Once I got finished using each blue, then I went back to my row of gray, and then I started over with the blues until I was completely finished. And so I started and ended with the section of grays. Once I finished the rows, I decided to do a border, and I used single crochets. I like doing single crochets as an anchor or transition row between sections or between my work and then the edging. So I did a row of single crochets. When I got to my corner, I did 3 single crochets in the corner so that it would continue to be and present as a corner. When I went, the next row I went around with was double crochets, and I did the same thing. In the middle of the 3 single crochet corner, I did 3 double crochets, and I repeated that around, making sure that I did that in each corner so that it would still present as a corner. I used 4 rounds. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds of double crochets, and basically I just kept going around until I ran out of yarn. So this being my last color, I still have maybe a little bit left over of the blue, but I was able to get all of the yarn from the project bag on this blanket. It is, again, 50 by 53 inches. It is a nice size throw blanket. That is that. In the clip, I was spraying it down with a combination of 1 part fabric softener, 3 parts water in my little spray bottle. And the reason I do that is because, number 1, it's going to give it a nice fresh scent, but also it helps to shape the blanket so that your edges become very straight, your corners become corners, and basically blocking off the blanket without having to actually blow. So again, if you know the basic stitches, a single crochet, a double crochet, and a slip stitch, you can easily make this blanket, and it goes by pretty fast. This blanket was, again, scrap yarn, and I used a 5.5 millimeter hook to achieve this. 26 sections of the double crochet, and then the mesh, and then 4 rounds of double crochets with a round of single crochets in between. That is how this blanket went, and I'm very happy with the end result. The blues blanket. One more thing, also with this blanket. In a previous video, I said you want to do an even number of stitches. That was not true. I also said I did 200. My starting chain was 200. No, that was not true either. So, in order to get a double crochet beginning and end, you need a odd number of stitches. So I actually went back, I counted on my stitches, and I reevaluated what I originally said. I did 153 stitches, and I started in the 4th chain from the hook, creating double crochets all the way down. So an odd number of stitches and double crochet in the 4th chain from your hook on your starting chain, and then continue on with the pattern. You always want to make sure that you begin and end your mesh section with the double crochet. So it has to be an odd number. So yes, there's that. So now let's talk about the Granny Spike blanket. When I tell y'all I love this, because this is just going to be used as my up next project tray. So I had this in a tote bag, and it was sitting in my room in a corner, forgotten. Not really forgotten, because I saw it. I just wasn't working on it. I took it out of the bag where I can see what I'm doing, and it will get done before the end of this month. So I had these. I still have a bunch of these, a couple more of these Super Saver pink. I had some gray, and then I found another Super Saver gray. So it's 2 different color grays on this particular blanket. And then I had the green that I took from a temperature blanket. That was a mess, because I started it with one size hook, and then I ended up using a different size hook. So that blanket was long and lopsided. So I just took it all apart. I took all of this color green and set it aside. The rest of the yarn from that blanket I used to make a corner to corner. And the way that you start this particular blanket is to go with you want to chain multiples of 4 plus 1. And then I think I should stand up for this. Okay, so you want to go multiples of 4 plus 1. Then you're going to go you want to go into the 5th chain from your hook after you finish your first chain. And you're going to do 3 double crochets in that chain. Then you chain 1, skip 3 chains, do 3 double crochets in that chain. Skip 1, chain 1, skip 3, do 3 double crochets in that chain. And you just do that all the way down. So chain 1, skip 3, 3 doubles in the next. Chain 1, skip 3, 3 doubles in the next. The way that you get your spikes. So a traditional granny stitch blanket will do 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, right? And you just keep doing that back and forth, back and forth. Well, to get the spike in the granny spike, when you come back on your next row, you will do your first double crochet You'll do your first double crochet in the chain 1 space. Your next double crochet will dip down into the middle double crochet from the 3 double crochet cluster in the row below. And then your third double crochet of this row's cluster goes back into the chain 1 space. So you have one, and then you have one, and then you have a long one, and then you have another one. In the chain space, in the middle double crochet from the cluster below, in the chain space. That is what gives you the spike. Okay, works for you. I think 3 colors gives it the interest, and you can actually see the spikes better. So I loved the pattern. I love the way that this was working up. I don't know what took me off course with this blanket, but I will get it done in the month of April. That is the goal in the month of April. So granny spike, your first chain, multiples of 4 plus 1. First row is 3 double crochets, chain 1, skip 3, 3 double crochets, chain 1, skip 3. The next row and every row after, in the chain space, 1 double crochet, dip down into your spike for the dip down into your middle crochet of the row below for your spike, and then another double crochet all in that same chain 1 space, and chain 1 after that, and then keep repeating that. 1 double crochet in the chain 1 space, the next double crochet dips down into the spike, the third double crochet is in the chain 1 space. Chain 1, do it all over again. You're going to come out with something that looks very similar to this. So I think that does it for this video. So if you made it this far, thank you for hanging around, spending a little bit of your time with me today. If you plan on doing anything for donation, please drop that in the comments. Do me a big favor and like the video, subscribe to my little old channel, and leave your comments. Before I end, I do want to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed in the last couple of weeks. I appreciate everybody who has subscribed. I appreciate the views, and I think that's it. I will meet you guys back here in the next video where hopefully good people will be done. We'll have a lot more progress on this blanket. My hats will be complete. You know, I got to sew in those ends. And we'll see what else we have to talk about when the time comes. So until then, bye.